you don't have to be an entrepreneur and you don't have to be almost bankrupt for conversations around finances and what we are creating and how to create more to be a super relevant, wonderful conversation to have because we often, most of the time, we are creating by default in every part of our lives. And what I mean is, we're listening to what society tells us, we're listening to what other people tell us, and we're only allowing certain things in our lives. And we often don't believe that we can create more. I'll start with telling you the story of how I ended up almost bankrupt and then went on to create, a much better business. So, my brother suffered a severe traumatic brain injury actually in 2012, and he was not supposed to live. And then he was never supposed to wake up from his coma. And then when he did wake up from his coma, they said he'd never get out of an institution. And he did all those things. But a severe traumatic brain injury is very life changing. And it changed his mental capacity. It changed he had a brainstem stroke. It changed his physical capacity. And it damaged multiple areas of his brain. And so it caused a lot of things to be very difficult for him. I really felt that, God, the universe was saying that I needed to help him. I was the only one who could help him. And I just knew that I could. But the challenge is that I was not in a place with my business that I needed to be not in my business. And he was not in a place where I could bring him home and go to work every day. And so I went against the advice of my banker, my parents, other trusted advisors. Now, I didn't do it without doing a lot of research. So I did need to make sure it would be safe to bring him home. And so I did pour over all of the medical records and the psychiatrist records and the mental hospitals that my parents had helped him had put him in, with the goal of helping him be able to heal so that he could function. And I found that there were a lot of miscommunications between the hospital records and his psychologist and counselor when he came home. And there were just a lot of things there that I really felt strongly that I could help him. And so I took a big risk and I followed what I felt was the right thing to do. And I brought him home and I stepped mostly out of my business in order to be able to do that. I was able to get him help. I was able to get him functional. I was able to get him living on his own, get him on disability, do so many things. But also, I did struggle with my business. And for 3 years, I really struggled financially after having stepped out of my business for that length of time and then back in my business. And, the things that occur with everybody doing the best they can with all the knowledge and tools they have when you're not there and to make decisions and to be there as the main doctor as well. I reached a point where it was really hard and I was several $100,000 in debt. And I really had to ask myself, am I willing to go bankrupt? Am I willing to walk away from a business I've had for 17 years? And I decided that I was not. And that decision changed my life. And I learned so many things from that situation because looking back at the end, because when I made the decision, within 1 year of making that decision, I was almost out of debt after 3 years of struggle. Within another year, I bought a house and created $1 million business. The difference was that when I made a decision that I wasn't willing to go bankrupt, I quit feeling sorry for myself. And once I made a decision that I wasn't willing to go bankrupt, it changed everything because then I had to start looking for solutions. I had to start finding a way to focus on the positive. I started specific appreciation around appreciating everything, every person, what anybody was doing. What did someone do for me the day before that I appreciated? 3 things. What did I appreciate in life? 3 things. And what did I appreciate in myself? And the importance of what did I appreciate in myself was as I started appreciating and this is not the big things. So important when you use this, the little bitty things. Like I walked in the door and I saw something positive. Like I got out of bed and I did my morning routine. I created a morning routine because I had to change things if I was going to change the outcome. And that morning routine, the goal was to be in the most positive space possible before I left for work. And at first, it didn't feel very good. Yeah, it felt great right at the end of the morning routine, but then when I would get to work, and the creditors are calling and the challenges are there, and it all, it felt not good within a few minutes. But as I was consistent, it didn't take long for me to start gaining that muscle of seeing the positive in the moment, because I was creating it every morning and I was journaling about every positive thing. So then my brain started to go, oh, that's a positive thing. Oh, that's a good thing. And when I started doing that, then my team started doing that. When I started noticing anything they were doing right, then they started having ideas too. And we all started having, oh, well, what if we create this program to help our clients? Or what if we do this? And there were so many different opportunities to start finding and seeing solutions. And what I learned was, if you are wallowing in the mess, if you're feeling sorry for yourself, if you're criticizing yourself, then you're wallowing in the problem and you can't see the solution from the space where you're in the problem and focusing on the problem. So the goal is to identify the problem and focus on looking for a solution, believing in a solution.